Welcome to No Notes. I'm Colby.
And I'm Alex.
And welcome to this week's episode.
Welcome. So as always, let's start this off with our tops and bottoms for the new folks. We flip a coin to decide which one of us will discuss a top, aka a highlight of the week, and the other will discuss a bottom or something bad that happened this week. So I have a coin here. What do you want? Heads, tails?
I did heads for top last week, so I will do tails for bottom.
Tails for bottom. Okay, let's see.
I honestly can't remember anymore, but whatever it is.
And that is tails. So you are doing the bottom.
All right, so let's start with you and your top first.
So my top is I watched the new Beyonce movie with some colleagues on Friday.
That's only in theaters, right?
It's only in theaters, and it is 3 hours long. But
oh my god!
It takes you through the entire concert. Like it takes you through the same set list. They cut off some things, but like it's the same order. Like the first song she plays, the first song she played in the concert.
Is it all from one concert, or is it a bunch of them spliced together?
It's all of them spliced.
Okay.
And so it's 3 hours long, but it is so insightful. Like I left wanting to be good at something. Like Beyonce, you don't realize it, just like how much in control she is of the music, what she's wearing, the stage, what it looks like, her dancers. Like it's her. Like she is behind everything.
Yeah, I can't imagine to like have had that sort of inherent talent and to know it and deserve it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's inherent because her like second and third albums weren't very good. Like it was something around
That's true. She came into it.
Something around her fourth album where she was like, you know what? I'm going to start doing this. And then Beyonce, when she released the Beyonce self-titled album with the music videos, she changed, like something about her changed.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm saying though. I think it is inherent. I think it's there. It just has to be cultivated. You know?
I think maybe the only other artist was Gaga when she was in her drug years.
Honestly, that's the thing in general is that these artists, whether it's fashion, photography, filmmaking, the drugs are really what brings out the creativity in them.
Yeah. As soon as they stop, then you get art pop.
Yeah. It's sort of like, Miley Cyrus's character in
Black Mirror.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. It's just like we just need them hooked up to a constant IV of something. And
gays would have left her hooked up.
Just exactly. Just give us the good shit.
Yeah, but I like it. No other artist compares to Beyonce. She is the best. She's the closest thing we have to a goddess. Like it's even embarrassing that people compare to Taylor Swift. Like it is a slap in the face to Beyonce.
You know, I have controversial opinions about Beyonce. So
you haven't watched this movie.
No, and it's not that I don't think she's talented. I do very much think she's talented. This is like not fair to her, but I just can't get over the Jay-Z thing, and I just want her to leave him. I think that's what it comes down to. Is that I'm just like, girl, you're so much bigger than him. Like,
but
but I'll leave you to that. That's not here or there.
So what's your bottom of the week?
My bottom of the week, and I never thought I would say this, is George Santos getting expelled from Congress.
Okay. Why?
So, I mean, not to say he doesn't deserve it, because he does, but honestly,
chaos.
What an icon.
Honestly, he reminds me of like the villain in like a RuPaul show or something, like where you don't like them, but you want to keep them on the show.
It's here for the attention, the drama of it all, the tea. So, do you know he claimed he was in Hannah Montana?
No, what?
Yeah, he claimed he was in Hannah Montana and The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody.
Oh my God.
But some of my favorite things about George Santos. So when he got questioned about being a drag queen in Brazil, I think, and then was like given the photos about it, he goes, "So sue me for having a life." And then, I mean, he was using campaign funds for OnlyFans, shopping trips at Hermes and Botox. He was like icon.
He was like, I just found out about OnlyFans about 3 weeks ago at a campaign meeting, and then like it turns out he's been paying for OnlyFans through it. Like it's ridiculous. Like
who do you think's OnlyFans he was subscribing to?
I mean, he seems the type that would like, honestly, kind of like your type of guys, like hairless, roided. You guys probably masturbate.
Oh, I thought you meant me. Like I thought you meant he would be into like twinkish build sort of guys. I was like, oh,
no, I think no.
You think he's into
those lips, sweetie? I think he wants something else.
Okay. Funny that you mentioned that. Do you know who Christian Walker is? He's Herschel Walker's son. That was very pro-Trump, MAGA,
Yes.
all on TikTok.
Isn't he now not?
I don't know if he's not, but he's distanced himself ever since his father's campaign. But he just surfaced on TikTok some tea about George Santos and that he had hung out with him, and George Santos told him that he has a peach that'll make a man happy someday.
Ew.
I would jump off a building.
Ew. No.
Like I wouldn't want to imagine George Santos like thinking about my butt.
Rimmed with tahini.
Gross. Anyway, so let's talk about this week's topic.
So we want to talk about what we collectively decided is late stage gay. Is that what we called it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's right. I will say, like, this sort of concept in general feels fairly like isolated to the cisgender gay experience. Like, it's what we're going to talk about feels commonly shared against that experience. I don't think it's collectively against, maybe
queer, like lesbian or being
or
trans.
transgender. Yeah, because those are just such different, diverse experiences, right? That just aren't encapsulated in this.
Yeah, I think that's very important to clarify. So we kind of got this concept on The Velvet Rage. We both have read it, right?
And remind me, am I the one that told you to read The Velvet Rage?
I don't know if you told me to read it, but I remember you like saying like, "Oh, everyone should read it," even though I don't necessarily agree with it. I think every cis gay man should.
Yeah, like
read it.
I mean, the book I think is approaching nearly 30 years now, and so much has changed within the LGBTQ plus landscape that, again, it can't possibly apply to everyone. But I think there's a very particular type of gay male, like ones that live in big cities that go to frequent gay events and parties, things that we talk about a lot on this podcast that I think the material is very relevant for. And even then, I still picked up on a lot of little nuggets for that I think were just good information or like sort of eye-awakening things.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, Velvet Rage talks about, like, this is going to be grossly simplified, but there are essentially 3 stages that he talks about. I'll talk about the first one. It's overwhelmed by stage. So in this stage, a gay man is afraid.
Overwhelmed by what?
Shame.
Okay, I just couldn't hear you in the mic.
Oh, sorry. Overwhelmed by shame. So the first stage is where a gay man is afraid of his sexuality. So in this stage, the person can be in denial. They can be leading double lives. The second stage is compensating for shame, and that's where a gay man tries to neutralize his shame. And then lastly, it's cultivating authenticity. So this is where a gay man embraces his sexuality. So what's something that you kind of like disagree with from the framework of that?
I don't think that I necessarily disagree with that. I think it's more again of just like a time and a place sort of thing. Like for our generation, you and me, like 30 something millennials.
Some of us are 30 something. Some of us are just 30.
Okay, well, and coming from like fairly suburban and or rural-ish areas and having moved to a big city, I think a lot of this is like maybe valid for us. But for like new generations that are coming up with all these gay series on Netflix and every celebrity is out and has a husband. It's just a different world.
Yeah. People are coming out a lot younger. So like I checked up on this before we did this, but it was like 7 to 12 or like people are coming out. So I don't think that they at that age can develop like double lives or the type of denial and shame that something an adult would have. I mean, it's probably a lot of confusion at the age, but it's not going to be to what somebody would be having 30 years ago.
I think the thing that does ring true, regardless of time and place, is the straight society in general has this very consistent and or sort of predictive path, right? Like they're supposed to go to school, they get a job, they get married, they have kids, they retire, their kids have kids, and then they die. And that's just like sort of the standard path. Not to say that hasn't changed a little bit too. Those norms are mixing up as well. But for gays, like our experience sort of starts at the first you have to come to terms of being okay with being gay. And sometimes it's not even just about you, it's your family having to come to terms with that because they're from an older generation. So I think those are the parts that ring true, is that we first go through this process of self-acceptance and having those around us either accept us or coming to terms that they will not before we can even move to these other stages of life, or trying to balance it with those stages of life at the same time. Like you're trying to go to school, you're trying to get a job while trying to, just learn about who you are and whether, you've come to terms with that or not.
Yeah. Yeah. I would definitely agree with that. I do think that when a person does initially come out, I feel like a lot of people, once they take the step to start telling people, they do kind of like gay becomes their personality.
Yeah.
They, really lean into it. They start making jokes with everyone. Like they'll start talking about themselves being, gay to a lot of people. They'll come out to a lot of people. They might start like, I don't know, dressing a little gayer. Like, I don't know if you had in high school, like a person that was like, I call them like the person that leads the way for like the rest of the gay students, but it's like a person that's like really femme voice, has, they like had like white flip-flops, white sunglasses.
White flip-flops.
Yeah, it's always white flip-flops.
Wait, tell me about the white flip-flops and white sandals, because I'm thinking about like all the
Abercrombie.
Yeah, and the guys that would go down to Florida for spring break would all be wearing like white Oakleys. And so tell me about this.
So I think it's probably related to that. It's probably because we grew up around that time where kind of Abercrombie and Hollister was a thing, at least in my town, like in the at least middle school to early high school.
Yeah, it's a bunch of advertisements of ripped abs and guys that are a little too handsy with each other on the field.
So I think like those, like all the gay, like the really gay ones would have like, I don't know, white flip-flops, white sunglasses, but it wasn't like an Oakley sunglasses. It's like a fake Gucci, Frada glasses. Okay. But they'd be like the revolutionary one. Like I remember the really gay student in my high school, and like it must have been so brave. Like I felt so bad for them, because I do remember I was probably also one of them, but like all the straight guys would make fun of him like behind his back, obviously. And no straight guy would want to be associated with him.
Yeah, I mean, looking back on it now, I think those kids were brave, but I think high school, whether you're gay, straight, whatever you are, it's a little bit about survival, right? And we make choices on like what we think is gonna best serve us during that period.
Are you saying that you made fun of the guy?
Yeah, I'll be honest. Like, I mean, it's sort of like you have to throw people out under the bus to look out for yourself. I mean, to be fair, I didn't even know myself that I was gay until probably close to senior year actually.
Really?
Yeah. It's funny looking back on it, but most of the guys in my high school they did not awaken anything in me sexually. So it just did not. I think also I was a little like naive and innocent of a child too, but it wasn't until I like stumbled eventually on porn that I realized I was like, oh yeah, I'm into this.
Well, when did you stumble? Like, how old were you when you stumbled to gay porn?
Yeah, it was honestly probably like junior year of high school, or
really,
yeah, maybe the summer before senior year. Like I said, I was fairly like innocent and naive. Like I think maybe my sexual development was maybe a little later. I mean, I know looking back at it now that there were certainly signs, and that I internally was not feeling the connections that I should have with the girls at a really, even at a really young age. But it just took me a long time to piece all that together.
Okay.
When did you know?
I knew pretty early on.
What like led you to?
I remember not being able to only sexually fantasize about men, not women. I knew that was a problem.
I think I probably did. I just didn't realize it until much later. Like, so here's the thing.
Some of us are smarter than others, and that's okay.
No, this is sort of getting at the points of the Velvet Rage that like the step one or stage one is this shame-ridden thing. I never had shame about it ever. Even when I eventually came out and my parents didn't agree with it, I never felt shame or wrong about it. It felt so natural to me. And even from a very early age, I remember being like 7 or 8 and getting in an argument with my dad about something to do with gays. I don't remember. Maybe it was around Don't Ask, Don't Tell. I don't remember what year that was, but I remember getting in an argument with him and him just getting so angry about it. Don't remember the context, but it just tells me that even then, like, there was some internal sort of voice telling me that, like, there was some reason I felt strongly about this and had opinions about this at such a young age. So I think deep down, I knew that there was something different. I just didn't know how it all pieced together, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I don't think I had shame either. I do always remember thinking that I knew something.
You should have.
I do remember thinking that I like knew something that no one else knew. Like when you talk to like religious people, like, you know, did
you just feel different?
I feel different. I just felt different.
Yeah, I felt like I wasn't on the same wavelength as everyone.
And I knew that they weren't. You know, does that make sense? Like, I knew where they were coming from because they were missing pieces of the puzzle.
Did you feel like you were actively trying to bury those parts of you from other people realizing it? I guess that's the shame component of it.
So I think I remember like knowing that I shouldn't hang out with said gay person.
Because they might think that you are.
Or I knew like, hey, you probably shouldn't have like all girls. Like, you need to have straight friends.
Yeah.
So I think I remember even like I knew that I probably shouldn't be watching like Logo TV. I remember like that would be one of the like I would like skip through that, like, okay, don't watch that because you don't want to be caught. Dude, one time actually, remember Next on MTV?
Next?
Yeah, when they would be on a bus, like 5 contestants would be on a bus.
Wait, is this where they go in each other's apartments?
No, that's Room Raiders.
Okay, so there is a gay episode of that I remember watching.
So Next would be a show where there'd be one person and they are going on dates with 5 people. And so there'd be 5 people on a bus, one would come out, and the person, they would go on a date with this person, and if they don't like him, they say next, and they get kicked off. Okay. And so then the next person comes out of the bus. One time, so there were 2 episodes on each 30-minute episode. There was 2 segments on each 30-minute episode.
Okay.
I was watching one. It was a straight one. And then I went outside, and a gay one came on, and I wasn't in, but the TV was playing. So my mom saw that there was a gay episode, and when I came back, she asked me, like, why are you watching a gay TV show? And I got outed with, I didn't even know. Fuck MTV.
Wait, when she came out later, did she bring this back up?
No, this is something that
you're just thinking this is when. What, speaking of the shame piece of it, what is the most like gay shame event, like most gay related shame event that you can think of in your life?
I do remember after I hooked up with my first person from, like, I think it was Scruff. I remember that's like the first time where I was like, oh, I feel shame.
Wait, what age were you? Was this college?
Yeah, this was college. I was 19 or 20 years old.
Okay. That's pretty late. I thought it was going to be something like, you know, in front of your parents at like a very young age.
No, that's not true. I now remember this was way younger. In 2004, I bought Hillary Duff's self-titled album, Hillary Duff, and I felt shame. Now, you know, I someone years later gave me a copy, because I always bring up Hillary Duff, a copy of that same album, and I have it in my office at work. So anyone can see the Hillary Duff self-titled album.
You love Hillary.
She's the queen.
Do you want to hear mine?
What?
Because it's imprinted in my brain permanently. So when not Spice World, but the Spice Girl tour movie, I don't remember what that's called.
Is that the one where they're on the London Bridge and then they're like, uh-oh, we're going to jump. And then it's like a toy bus.
Isn't that the Spice World movie?
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. So there's like
a sequel.
So no, there's a movie that's like a more Hollywood production kind of movie, and then there's one that's sort of like this Beyonce one, right? That's like of their concerts.
Oh, you were too gay for me.
Yeah. So anyway, a childhood friend stayed over and we watched that. And looking back on it now, I think we were just being boys
Mhm.
and boys experiment and all that. Doesn't It's not really sexual. We were very young, like honestly less than 10 years old. But we both really loved the performance of Naked. Have you seen any of
No.
their? So they go on stage. They're in like the skin
Like the nude
colored
colored? Yeah.
to cover their privates, but they're sitting like facing the back of a chair so that from the audience's perspective, it
They
looks
look
like they're naked.
Uh-huh.
So we decided to perform that for each other, like while we were watching the movie.
Are you still connected with the other guy?
No.
Okay.
So when he is performing in front of me, like, so he's like sitting in this like office chair I have in my bedroom, like facing the bed, whereas I'm just like watching him and the movie. And it's honestly innocent. It's just kids being kids.
Uh-huh.
My mom walks in.
Oh, shit. Of course. What did she do?
I immediately get drug out of the room and
Naked?
I wasn't naked
Oh.
because it wasn't sexual.
Mhm.
I mean, and I got drug into the shower for some reason. I don't really know what the point of that was. And I just remember my mom screaming at me like, boys don't expose themselves to other boys, like just something about that. And I remember just that was so traumatizing for me.
Yeah, I bet.
Like it was just this very innocent thing that wasn't sexual. Now, I mean, if it's adults, you'd be like, yeah, that's sexual. But like kids, it's just not how they think.
Right.
But that for me, I think is my number one gay shame moment.
Oh, God. I mean, I would be frightening mom yelling at me, and you're like, what? And then now looking back at it, it's it's not like we did anything wrong.
Yeah, we were just
Kids.
Yeah, just kids.
Just kids. So one thing that I have noticed is like after people initially get out of like, they start coming out and kind of accepting that they are gay and start telling people, I feel like the most important part of like their gay development is like when they start making relationships with other gays, whether that be sexual, romantic, platonic friendships. Like that's the most important part of like a gay development. I think that's where like a lot of people kind of get stuck and like a lot of issues arise out of this.
So this is like the stage 2 part of.
Yeah, and I feel like that's like the most important part.
Well, I would say it's not exactly stage 2 because stage 2 is more about just finding things to cover up the shame, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think for a lot of people that can be relationship oriented because we are like finding these things that prove to other people that we're okay or like we're living a normal life or we're successful or whatever the narrative is that we're wanting to tell people. So it's why a lot of gay men, I would say, jump into relationships is so they can like signal to their family and friends that, see, I am the same as you. Like I am in love and have a committed partner.
Yes, I think that a lot of people will do that. I think a lot of people will also cover up their issues, whether that be work, whether the relationship with their parents, through sometimes like sexual relationships.
Yeah, totally.
And I think a lot of them, because like having sex feels good, everyone will start.
Does it? I wouldn't know.
But like everyone will start abusing this. Like they can no longer just be friends with someone. They can no longer just go to the bar. They have to be looking for the next thing.
Well, I mean, pun aside, it's a bottomless pit. That it's like you're trying to fill this hole that you're not going to be able to plug in this way, because deep down that shame or anger, whatever you're feeling as a result of that, you're literally just trying to mask it with this constant barrage of like a temporary high, right?
Yeah.
Of this person wants me, they want to sleep with me, and that only lasts so long, and you just keep looking for it over and over again. And I mean, we've seen this. Like I've seen this with close friends,
right,
that it just does not, it never works out. Not to say that like sleeping around, having sex with multiple people, I think that's healthy. I think more
Very
people
healthy.
should be doing that, like instead of trying to pigeonhole themselves into a relationship. But it's really trying to understand like your justification for doing it. Like, are you doing it because you're just trying to cover up for something else, or are you genuinely just trying to experience a lot of new things?
Right. I mean, I know there's people that I have like actively, I do not want to go out with them because I know that once we go out to the bar, like say goodbye to them because they're going to be looking out for their next, midnight soiree.
Yeah, I mean, one of our really good friends that I won't name on this.
But I feel like it's different. I'm not trying to, I think there's a difference because there's a time and place for it. Like, we're not trying to say you shouldn't do this.
Totally.
Time and place, and I feel like he's really good at time and place.
Oh, and I don't think I'm giving the example you're thinking of, but just I remember a period where we would get to a bar, and this person would instantly be scanning the room. Mm-hmm. As soon as they find it, they would ditch you like for whatever they're interested in. If they don't get that, they're like mad and upset the whole night, and it just like ruins the whole vibe.
Yeah, I think the mad and upset part is, I think, the most frustrating thing.
Yeah, it's. I think we're supportive bros of like, look, go have fun, do your thing. But also, when I'm trying to go out with friends, I'm trying to go out with friends like be in the company of you. So,
right.
I think this is getting back to what I was talking about at the beginning, that our paths are just sort of different. Like, we spend all this time trying to like come to terms and acceptance with ourselves and figure out who we are. And because of that, like, even if it's not shame related, right? Society for the longest time has not allowed us to do the same things that our straight counterparts had. Like, when I was in high school, even if I loved and accepted myself, and even when I was out my senior year, my friends and all that loved and accepted me, I physically could not have brought my boyfriend to prom. Mm-hmm. That was not an option.
Right.
So that means that you're blocked from a lot of similar relationships very early on. And same with like your parents, right? Your parents might not allow you to have boys over that you experimented with at an early age. And so by the time that you've reached adulthood, that you have as developed of a sense of things like friendship and what love looks like, so that then once you get to adulthood, you're like seeking something that you should have already developed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So we have had friends like this. I know that, they can't tell the difference between platonic love mm-hmm. and sexual like love.
What do you think about friendcest? People who hook up within their friendship group.
It's a plague.
I think it's a red flag. I think if someone can't like differentiate, like, there's one thing if you bring two people who are strangers and then they have like a romantic connection. I think that's one thing. If it's two people that are friends and then they have these feelings, or like say that at the end of the night they're like, I'm gonna hook up with whatever's around me, which will be my friend. I think that's like a problem, because that you have to have a sort of barrier between a friend and someone that you hook up with.
I mean, I think it's a little more nuanced and complicated, because friendship can obviously turn into something different. Mm-hmm. Like, maybe you didn't work with someone at some point of your friendship, but the way things have changed, or the more you've learned about each other, that becomes something else. But I think what you're getting at are people that, again, they're trying to fill that constant gap and like sleep with someone. And if they don't get it that night, they just lean on the
whatever's
closest
around,
thing to them, which ends up being a friend.
Yeah.
And that is just, it's kind of like emotionally abusive in a way, that it's just like, and I feel like ultimately there's never good communication. So one's always wanting something that the other doesn't. But at the end of the day, like, if you are two mature adults and you're friends and you're communicating and talking about what you want, like you're saying, we are going to do this and it's just in this capacity, and you're both on board with that, then I think that's totally fine. But the reality is I think it's just, you are playing a dangerous game, mm-hmm. because it's often really hard to separate them. And ultimately, if you're repeatedly having sex with someone, there's probably inevitably some sort of emotion tied up in that. And are you going to be able to distinguish it?
Right. Or is the other person?
Right.
Yeah.
And so you really just have to ask yourself, like, am I willing to risk that?
Exactly. What do you think about gays who only have, like, say, friends that are straight females?
I think, I don't have strong opinions, I don't have positive opinions of this. I think that is a crutch in a way. I think it's similarly what I was talking about, that you may not have developed the same kind of relationships. I think it's a lot of guys that they did not have the same sort of interactions with their peer males growing up. And so they cling to like that safety net of like women that they thought were like more supportive of them, more acceptive of them when they're younger. That's not to say you can't have girlfriends, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think it's healthy to have a mixture of gay, straight, you know, the whole spectrum. Like that's healthy, but for you to solely rely on women, I don't think is healthy.
I agree. And it seems to be like the same type of person that does that. It's always, and I feel really, really bad for them, but it's always, you can kind of tell it's like a very femme person who, like you're saying, probably didn't have the most positive experience with other men. And so they rely on females, but like they get held up. They never, like a lot of them don't find relationships. A lot of them don't, like they have just, like they are always like in bachelorettes, but they're never in the actual bridal party, which I think is so sad.
Well, I've also seen, I've seen tragedies like that where they don't end up even getting invited to the wedding because the best girlfriend's boyfriend's family's homophobic or something like that.
Yeah.
But I've seen also situations where they both are leaning on each other as a crutch. Like there's females that, you know, the fag hags, that like they don't want to put themselves out there. They both just like use each other in a way. I think it's just important to make sure you're getting like a diversity of experiences. Like,
because it's also like I've also seen gay men where
they only hang out with like the same kind of gay men just like them.
Yeah, and it becomes a problem because when they're anything sort of that's different from their gay group, they exclude the other person. Like it's just.
I think we do that.
No. Okay.
Okay. No, we really try. Like I mean, I like think about a lot, like making sure we have a lot of
like we
different
look different,
opinions.
Femme, more masculine.
Me.
Hot. Me. Ugly. You.
Okay. Yeah. I'm in your dreams either way.
Nightmares.
Like Freddy.
Yeah, exactly. So what, like we've talked about like what we think maybe stage 1, stage 2, but what do you think is like more like a long-term, maybe like mentally stable? Is that correct?
I don't know if I've seen it, if I'm going to be real with you.
Yeah, I think that's my biggest issue with the Velvet Rage is that it gives you this progressive stage, like 1, 2, and 3. But I don't think that's true. I think you kind of like flow in between depending on the situation, right? Like I'll tell you that when I'm around, like if I'm at a party and there's like good looking, like I feel like like maybe I have to be around that area rather than like where less attractive people are hanging.
What stage do you think you're in?
I think I'm in between. Like, honestly, I think I'm probably like 2-ish.
Is that saying you're above 2 or maybe
above
slightly
2.
below 2?
I think I'm above 2.
Okay.
A strong above.
Okay.
I think I'm near you.
Okay.
You want to get in a fight?
Yeah, let's go.
No, but what do you think that like is a healthy point?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think the part of stage 3 is like this full acceptance of yourself, that your whole being is not surrounded by your sexuality or using sex as a way to get validation, right? It's that you have other things in life that drive you and motivate you, and you're not obsessed with this inner turmoil about being gay. That piece of it, I think I've seen. Like, honestly, I think that both of us are probably in that category, that we love and accept each other, ourselves. I don't personally give a shit if my family or someone does not support that I'm gay. Like, I will cut that person out. I don't need that validation. But I think that the reality is that life is hard in general, but gay life can be even harder. Because of the shame and all of that, that's like, it's festered in our society, this idealistic view, like we need to be perfect. I think you and I both share this, that we constantly feel like we have a lot to prove.
Yeah.
Like we want to be killing it in our careers. we want to have attractive partners. We want to have a beautiful life. We want to be traveling to all the best places.
We want to have healthy like friendships. Like we want
like the beautiful life.
Yeah. We want it all.
We want it all. And that is surrounded in ego and narcissism and all these not so great traits. And I think that's the part where I know we're not fully developed in, because we keep coming back to that of like, okay, we feel super self-conscious when our bodies aren't good enough, when we're at some venue or party, or, maybe our homes are not what we want them to be, or in your case, you just got a nice one. Like now it's like, do you want a bigger one? You know?
Yeah.
It's that sort of thing that I know there's still work to be done. It's just getting past all of that and just the full acceptance piece. I just don't think I've seen it. I truly don't. Because even if I look at couples, I think there's a part of our community that just goes, okay, the gold standard is that you're in this stable monogamous relationship and you two are just together for the rest of your life.
There's always improvement.
No, well, the reality is that gay, straight, bi, whatever, you define yourself as, I just don't think it's that rosy for anyone. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I think that if like I would be I have talked to you about this. I think having long-term non-sexual goals are a good and healthy thing, as long as it's not, it's coming from like a healthy place. I think that's like, I think this podcast idea was created because we wanted to leave. We didn't want to have a 9-to-5 job and that be our entire life.
I will say that as I've matured, as I've gotten older, I think that one of the most fulfilling things I've ever done in my life is foster healthy friendships.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, one person cannot be everything to you. It's actually an unfair expectation that one person is everything to you. And that can look like a whole bunch of different things. But I just mean that like you need people that surround you that offer a diverse spectrum of ideas, thoughts, and, God forbid something happen to that person, you break up, they die, who knows, that you are not just sort of left on your own. And I don't think that as a gay society, we put enough emphasis on having friends. I think we care a lot about having acquaintances and people around us that invite us to things and that we do things with, but that's not friendship. That's not the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I think because there's so much shame and desire to cover that with that beautiful, perfect life that we talked about, that people have so many barriers that prevent them from having real friends because they're not willing to be vulnerable and like just really open up with someone.
I think that's an excellent point.
Yeah. Like we have pillow talk sessions, which it's like
some of the best.
Yeah, I mean,
it's really relieving once you do that, because it makes you feel so much more connected with these people, and it gives them a perspective like where you're coming from.
Yeah, I think you just need people that you can be really open and honest with, and it's not easy to find. I will say that while it's been one of the most worthwhile things I've done, it's also been one of the most challenging, because the reality is most people within our community aren't even in like a good enough state to build a relationship with, because they haven't even come to terms with themselves. So they can't really support you. But because they're not willing to be vulnerable, they're not going to be a good friend to you.
Mm-hmm.
It's all very transactional. And I think that's probably one of the worst parts of what the shame has done to us, and all these fears and things that have been projected onto us as a child from our families and friends growing up, that I'm hoping that these future, generations that come into a more accepting world, that there's just less of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Should we move on to the...
Yeah, I think it's, so we'll talk about our no notes section. I think this was sort of like the impetus of this conversation today, is that there's a bar that we both have started, I guess, to go to, and I think it attracts a different sort of member of our community than maybe some of the other places.
Yeah. So I think that we've gone a lot to like circuit parties and like bars that attract, different types of audiences, but like definitely like a circuit party is going to be more driven by appearances and how you behave, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing we've tried to get across here is that you can go to a whole bunch of different things, and if you just sort of have like a solid group of friends, you can enjoy these sort of experiences regardless of what the makeup or construct of this event is. But there still can be venues that offer a little bit more for people that aren't as...
Some people might just not like circuit parties.
Yeah, different,
and that's
type
totally
of experience.
fine. So I think Martuni's in San Francisco, that's the best bar in San Francisco. I have yet to go to a more fun bar.
Best like LGBTQ bar, best bar.
Best bar, period. And the thing is, it is queer, but a lot of straight people will be there. I mean, you'll see straight people on a date there all the time. So Martuni's is this excellent martini bar. It has 2 rooms, the bar room, and then it has a back room where there's a piano. They have a pianist come every single night, and people can go up there and start singing.
Can I just say that I love a bar that tells you in the name exactly what it is?
Yeah.
Because it's like
tunes and a martini.
You go to High Tops, there's not a top there. There's a lot of high people, but there's not a top.
But no one says hi to me, and it's spelled H-I.
And like, what's beau? Like, you're not finding a beau at beau.
You're finding someone to stomp your white shoes.
You know what is accurate though is Toad Hall. You will find a lot of toads at Toad Hall.
Yeah, but no princes, because if you kiss that toad, it's going to remain fugly.
But like a frog, you might get warts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love that Martuni's name just tells you exactly what you're getting out of it.
Badlands, though, sad.
Well,
that's
so
also
I haven't
very
been back
accurate.
to it yet, and let's do an episode on that soon.
Yeah.
But I've actually heard some conflicting opinions, and
Really?
I didn't tell you this. I went to Toad Hall the other day. Well, you were going
without me.
Yeah, without you. Well, we were trying to go to Beau first.
Oh, right.
Sorry, not Beau. Badlands. The cover was $15.
You're joking.
And it was packed all the way to the door.
So
we need to go.
Okay, Martuni's, one of the reasons I love Martuni's is there's never a cover charge. Gay bars should not have cover charges ever.
And okay, so as someone that moved to a big city, San Francisco, from Atlanta, cover charges were not a thing. I think they might be now since the pandemic, but they were not a thing unless it wasn't it was a big event or party.
Yeah.
So like if you went out on New Year's Eve or whatever, you would have expected to pay for that, but otherwise you just went in.
Yeah. Unless there is a party event which you want to limit the amount of people coming into the bar, you should not be putting a bar. If there is a cover charge, it should be packed to the rim.
Or I will say, I think it makes sense for venues that they're going to be doing a lot of drag shows that evening because not everybody will tip.
Yeah, but now you're not at a bar. It's not just a bar, right? It's there because it's entertainment. It's a concert. It's
but I'm saying
show.
like Beau does drag shows. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I don't know if they're splitting that cover fee or with the drag queens. I hope they are. But I'm saying like I can at least rationalize that to say, okay, maybe that's going towards some of that because a lot of people just won't tip.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's just a normal sports bar, dance club, whatever, there better not be a fucking cover unless it's a big like Pride weekend, something like that. Yeah. There's no excuse for it.
Right. So Martuni's will never have one, and it's one of those places where anyone can go. You can, if you want to be in the piano room singing a song, put your listen. It's basically karaoke in the back. It gives you the option. If you want to be just like a Spectre, you could totally just do that. But if you want to just get a drink, they have some of the best martinis, only maybe to Hillstone, in the entire city.
Yeah,
and
the
drinks are huge.
Espresso martini is pretty solid, and I do not give that feedback often.
Yeah, right. Cosmo's there, also delicious.
I've never had one. What's
Really?
in a Cosmo?
It's the cranberry is what gives it the pink glow.
Is it very fruity though, like the sweet?
It's not sweet. You can taste both like the bitterness from the cranberry plus the vodka. It's really good. If it's too sweet, you've done it wrong. It should be like the light pink because it doesn't have that much cranberry.
I think the color of it just makes me think it's gonna be too sweet. I'm just not a syrupy sweet sort of person.
Definitely not. If it's done the right way, it's not. It's not too sweet.
Back to martinis. One thing I love about it is that yes, there's the singing going on in the other room, and they have it going through speakers as well. But the volume is at such that you can actually have a fucking conversation.
Yep. That's the difference between like a place like Quads, Palm Springs.
Yes.
And Martuni's.
And it's honestly what I would imagine that queer bars were originally like when they had to be very sort of on the DL.
Yeah.
It's like it's queer coded, but it's not outrightly queer.
Yeah. I will also say that the bartenders are fantastic. They're super
They're
knowledgeable.
on their shit.
On their shit. I'm telling you, the pours are great. I mean, they're huge drinks.
It's probably like 1.5 times at least of a standard martini glass. So 2 of those puppies and you're like, you're
toast.
Done. Yeah.
You're toast. I do know. I remember. So
and it's cheap.
It's very cheap.
Are they like $14 a piece?
Yeah. And I'm telling you, it's like 1.5 drinks. So it's not like you're getting your money's worth.
Yeah.
I remember one time I went with a friend. She had 2, then went on a date, came back. Well, came back to Martuni's, and
she ditched her date, or she brought him back?
Brought him back, and they were making out at Martuni's.
Wow.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
And when I think about like stable gays, I think of Martuni's. Because there you can't, like, no one's hooking up. No one's taking off their shirt. It's just you go there with a good group of people, friends, and you have a great time every single time. That's the place to take a partner, your best friend, your parents, your fruit fly.
Mm. I could also see it being nice for someone, though, that is
really high,
really early into the coming out phase because it's low pressure.
Yeah.
I mean, you're probably not going to make friends in a bar like that. I mean, maybe if you just sat at the actual bar.
I'm sure that there's going to be like those gays that just like, want to chit chat. I've never sat at the bar by myself.
I sat at the bar this last time, but I was with people.
Mm-hmm.
We did actually end up, some random person ended up talking to us.
Old?
I didn't get a look at him. He was on the opposite side of a friend. So I guess maybe you might chat out with someone there, but it's more of the, like, I could see being a good date night spot, like especially early date, because you can actually have a conversation and there's you're around other people. But I love it at the stage where we're out now, where I'm not always trying to like go dance. I mean, there's nights for that,
right?
But like when we go to High Tops, I can't hear what you're saying at all.
I just rely on my face, which I often do.
Well, you gotta.
And it's got to be this far. So,
yeah, I don't know about that.
Kind of where was I going with this? Martuni's, yeah, great spot. Who would you recommend Martuni's to?
I think anyone can go.
Anyone.
I mean, and I say that when I say anyone, I literally feel like sometimes someone from off the street has just roamed in there and is very confused about where they are.
It does give off like what would you describe the style, like the decor in there?
I don't know. It's so dark in there. It's
I want to say it's like kind of mid-modern.
No.
It's not. Maybe Art Deco. That's what I'm looking at.
Like Art Deco, but it's like from the original period.
Yeah.
Like nothing in there has been renovated.
Changed at all. Yeah, I would say it's probably from the 1920s. I got to do some research.
Oh, I don't think it's actually from the 1920s. I just think it's like inspired. I'm actually Googling this now.
There is a club on Guerrero Street called Club 500, and there's like a drawing of it from the 1800s.
Martuni's opened. So this is an article from 2012 saying that it opened 16 years ago.
So in the 90s.
Yeah.
Oh, well, she has an old soul. Let's get
maybe that's more I can't do that math in my head right now, but yeah, so it's not actually that old. The building could be, but it's a weird location. I will say that part of the city is random.
It doesn't have a name. It's like, is it mid-market? It's not Mission.
It's close to is that getting close to Dubose Triangle?
It's getting close to Dubose, Mission, Castro, Financial. It's like, I think it's technically
maybe
mid-market.
it's like Tender Triangle.
Yeah, or like that's the place in San Francisco where there's no jurisdiction. Like you can kill someone and no one.
It's Bermuda Triangle.
It's Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah, which actually works perfectly because you go there, there's no sense of time when you're in that space.
White Lotus.
Yeah, no idea where you are.
Anyway, I would recommend this to Mom, Dad. Are you listening? This one.
Okay. Well, I hope we'll go to it soon.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
All right. See ya.
Hey, it's Colby and Alex here. Thank you for listening to No Notes.
If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to follow us wherever you get your podcasts and share with your friends.
You can also follow us on Instagram at No Notes Pod, one word, where you'll find updates on new episodes and see more into our lives and the stories that we share with you on the show.
Your support means the world to us. Until next time, keep it real and keep it queer.